Question number 1. We are going to ask you how 2020 affected the amount of time you spent in the garden. Did lack of social commitment, unpredictability of the world make you want to dig into something controllable at home?
Spent a lot of time out in nature, that's for sure, because couldn't go anywhere with people.
Of course, I don't know how somebody like me would answer. It was about the same as usual, which was
Not the same.
not non-existent. For once, I wanted to even be a kid with mom saying, go pull the weeds out of my geraniums. Like that would have been fun.
Our kids didn't fall for that. We tried to have that bonding moment to have them pull weeds out of the garden, and that lasted all of about 2 minutes. Then they found the earthworms and all that other stuff.
Whoa, Craig, 5 hours a week. Okay, looks like about everybody is polled. So let's take a look and share. We had a lot more than usual, and it looks like Greg down here said a lot more than usual, which is wow. So now let's go to what types of stuff do you like to grow? We took your favorite thing in the practice chat, but just categorically, is it more decorative, edible, indoors? Oh, I have to hit the launch polling button for you to see the questions I'm seeing.
I was going to say I might be missing something here, but
sorry for the blonde moment.
No worries.
They took away an hour of sleep last night.
Christy, you got scrubs on there.
That's a good one. Nobody's picking that. I don't know why.
No. Scrubs.
That's 2 blonde minutes in like 2 milliseconds. How to get fired on a Sunday.
It's those bushy things.
Yes.
You know, roses fall into those bushy things. So, so if you like roses, you should pick that one. I was going to say 16 million new gardeners last year. So we're dealing with a lot of newbies out there. You know, people that have never even thought about gardening before, but it was all about that, you know, getting out there, you know, being one with nature, trying to stay active, you know, having a little stress relief. So it's all good. Gardening's all good, but, you know, 16 million new ones, and then, you know, millions of others. So it's great. We're so blessed to be part of the green industry.
Yeah, what did they do before that there's that many that jumped up?
You know what? Who knows? Like, you know, whether it was, you know, going out, going to movie theaters, going to bars. I'm going to tell you, and it's a lot younger group than what you would think. You know, usually with gardeners, people that come to the garden center, it's usually homeowners. And it was everybody. It was, you know, I had 16-year-olds coming in and gardening outside with mom and dad. But you know what I mean? They wanted to get the tomatoes started for their mom and dad, you know, that type of thing. So the age range moved way down, and it was great to see. It was so nice to educate new and advanced gardeners. And you know, even the gardeners that have been gardening, they just wanted to learn more, you know, on a certain subject, just really dive deep into it. So it was really fun. And I think we're going to have more of that this year too.
That's awesome. It's a very constructive way to spend time though, too. You know, the reward of doing it and going through the process, and then the fruits of your labor in a few months' time.
Right. And I think it's interesting because, oh, sorry, Christy, go ahead.
I thought while you were still narrating, getting more into it, we could do the last question was, which types of topics were interesting to our people. So.
And the houseplant category has been huge. Again, it's all about bringing nature inside. It's about cleaning the air, making you feel like you're living in a healthier environment. Of course, all of us want that. And plants can do that for you. They can really help clean the air and de-stress and obviously provide more oxygen. And when you're getting more oxygen, you're sleeping better, your focus is better. So it's been great. I love that. I talk to my plants. They're great listeners. They love it when you talk to them because obviously you're providing more carbon dioxide. So that's really good.
Is there anybody in our audience that is new to gardening, given the circumstances of society these days? I guess you could chat yes or no, or
and that's okay. We're here today to just start out at the beginning and definitely talk about starting seeds. Everybody can do it, from the youngest to the oldest. It's a great activity to do by yourself or with family or with friends. You can do it socially distant. You can, do it together. It's always a great thing to do.
There's your last results, just
growing
so you
your own food.
Yeah, heading where we're going. And with that, I'd say take it away.
Okay, great. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah, we're going to talk about growing your own food today, and other things that you can grow as well. And that first question, what are you looking forward to growing, is tomatoes. And I think that's majority. A lot of people love growing tomatoes, and growing tomatoes from seed is very easy, very economical. So yeah, we're definitely going to talk about that today. Okay. Everybody can see the screen, hopefully. Whoops. I hope it is not on time because it's going to flash for me. So we are going to grow your own from start to finish. At Petiti's, we've got a lot of different, if you will, growing apparatus for you, and seed starting specifically. So we're going to talk about, just simply how to start, how to get going, how to keep your plants growing, and how to get them outside. So that's what we're going to start with today. And seed starting, why start seeds? Last year, it was mostly the victory gardening attitude. We want to be self-sufficient. We want to be able to grow our own food. We were worried about food shortages. This year, I think
Noelle, your screen's not showing up on mine.
No. Sorry about that. What happened here? Hold on.
Right.
I'm gonna escape 1 second and go back into Zoom. I'm gonna share my screen, and that screen is shared. Shared it.
There we go.
Okay. And I'll go into presenter view. Hold on, bear with me here. There we go. Is that good? Okay, I wonder what happened there. That's interesting. All right, so this is the slide I was on. So why start your seeds? And again, economical, easy, rewarding hobby. I think a lot of us as growers, and this includes Angelo Petiti, we started seeds at a young age, and it's just so rewarding to see them germinate and pop out of the soil and start growing and really start becoming something. And then again, yielding, and in vegetables, it's again is incredible the amount of yields that you can harvest in the fall. So it's one of those hobbies that lasts all spring and summer and into the fall, and it's just something that can provide exercise that again can keep you grounded to nature. So there's just wonderful benefits to starting seeds, and it's just the beginning of your gardening practice. Supply lists, obviously seeds, you can find them anywhere. You can go online, you can get them from mail order catalogs, you can come to Petiti's, of course, and select your seeds, all different shapes, sizes, and seed packets. Some people go right towards the seed packet that's most attractive to them, and that's fine. Some people will go for no nonsense, all organic seeds. That's fine. Just make sure that you're using all organic products when you are growing organic seeds, because you're investing a little bit more into that organic product. So again, all those, there's so many things. It'll blow your mind how many seeds are out there if you've never really perused, but there's pretty much anything your heart's desire. And even on eBay, you'll find seeds, heirloom seeds, and also seeds you might not be growing or that might be legal to grow. So just watch out. So there's a lot out there. And then containers, any of your seed containers, it can run the gamut. You can grow seeds in normal pots. You can grow seeds in recycled containers, which I recommend a lot. We have a lot of plastics around the house, everything from yogurt cups to like plastic 2-liter bottles. You can actually cut those in half, and go ahead, and what you can do is you can use that plastic 2-liter bottle, rinsed of course and cleaned, but that can be filled with soil, and then the top of the 2-liter bottle can be fitted back onto the bottom, and it's like a dome, a tent, okay, like a mini greenhouse. So any of those containers will work. And of course you can just start with plastic seed flats, so that's really easy too. Soil, we're going to talk about soil, and really seed starting soil is what you want to stick with. You always want to go with a seed starting soil. 2 reasons why. It's sterile to begin with. Never use outdoor topsoil, anything like that. They don't sterilize it, okay? And seed starting soil is a lot lighter. It should have a lighter consistency than any of your potting soils and any of your outdoor soils. So we'll talk about that too. Lighting, like Christy was saying, she's got some eastern exposure. She's limited on sunlight in the house. Not a problem. There are plenty of lights, and seeds can grow under fluorescent lights really easily. They can grow under incandescent lights as well. It's a little bit warmer, but there are plenty of grow bulbs that you can just throw into a lamp, excuse me, and that can be perfect for your seed starting. So we'll touch on that today. Watering, we're going to touch on in the winter. Since we're still in winter, we're not quite in spring yet. We have a lot of questions about killing our plants with kindness, and we tend to overwater. So we're going to talk about watering habits with seed starting. And then fertilizer. You don't actually need plant fertilizer until the very end, when these seeds start developing 2 true sets of leaves. So don't even think about feeding them until they really start getting going and they get a good hold, and start their root system. So just remember that. We'll talk about some maintenance issues and then ready for the garden. Okay, so let's get started. Seed starting, again, I mentioned, cost effective, very, very economical. You can grow 10 tomato plants for about $12, $14. And you can purchase maybe, I don't know, for $14, you're probably like around 3 good started tomato plants. So it kind of depends. And really, it's more than 10 that you will be able to grow. It depends on your space. So again, keep that in mind. Hands-on activity, no age limit. Obviously, family and friend bonding here. Curing some cabin fever that we all have, getting a jump start to the growing season. It's just enriching. It's just a great activity, and it's a very healthy addiction. So that's always really, really good. The first thing that I wanted to show you, and Christy and I were talking about this before discussing this, is please, if it's your first time seed starting, start at a very small scale. You're going to buy a seed packet that looks so delicious. So I'm going to grab a seed packet here. I've got baby greens, gourmet musclin mix here. And oh, this looks so great. I'm going to seed all these seeds. Well, there's probably 200 seeds in this packet. So there's 200 seeds in this packet. And when you go to seed this packet, it'll tell you use 2 or 3 every 6 inches. So if you were going to start, let's say, a flat of them, a standard flat is maybe 36 cells. Okay. So you're going to put 2 to 3 seeds in each cell, and it'll fill really, really quickly. And then those seeds will germinate. And the next thing you have to do is you have to thin them out. You actually have to snip them, and we're going to get there. And Christy's going, oh my gosh, but that's what's going to make them grow better.
Can't do it. I've already fertilized them and killed them. I'm like.
So again, just start small. Start where you have space. Get, the supplies that you need to start small first. And then after you get the hang of it, then you can start increasing your output. So that's my biggest tip there, is when you're starting seeds, start small. Try easy germinators. Tomatoes are so easy. The fruit drops on the ground and you'll have tomato plants pretty quickly from the seeds. You don't have to dry them or anything. You just have fruit droppage, and the next thing you know, the seeds are coming up. So tomatoes are really great. Any larger seeds, if you like zinnias or sunflowers, those are always going to pop really, really quickly. Your cucumbers, anything in the cucurbit family, your squashes, they're big seeds, are going to pop really, really nicely for you. And any of your cold crops inside, so your lettuces, your spinach, your beets, your radishes, your cabbage, your kale. Well, kale takes a little bit longer than I think it should, but it'll pop pretty quickly. But again, any of those plants that are going to give you some really fast germination. And you'll find it on the back of your seed packet. So that is my next point here, is study your seed packet. Do not throw them out. Keep them around, because they have so much invaluable information here. You want to catalog them. You want to hold on to them. Put them in a photo album, scan them with your phone, take a picture. Then you'll have a log to what you planted. And my gosh, everything's here. What kind of sunlight it needs, what type of row spacing will it need when I get planting, how deep do I actually plant the seed, how many days will it take to germinate, and then how many days until that full maturation, when I can get out there and harvest. And you have to think about that, because really, when you're starting seeds, and I always talk about taking your calendar, whether it's on your phone or a physical calendar, and you look at the day to maturity or the day to harvest. I'm going to look at this really quick. Yeah, it says maturity. Okay. So on this seed mix of leaf lettuces, it's 21 to 58 days. Okay. So this is a fast grower. So if you look at the calendar, a month from now, if you're going to be ready to plant, whether it's in containers or not, these leaf lettuces are going to be ready to plant. Okay. So you always want to have that calendar ready, look at your seed packet, and then count back from your planting day. And then go ahead and you start the seeds after you're counting back those days to maturity. Let me give you something that's a really long crop. Okay. Brussels sprouts, for example. Brussels sprouts have really come into this age of awareness. People love Brussels sprouts now. It didn't used to be that way, but boy, they're used in so many different dishes. And Brussels sprouts are a super long crop. We're talking 120 days. Okay. So you're counting back 120 days, before they really start to mature and do their thing. So again, it all depends on, their maturity. So do look at the seed packet. That's all I'm telling you is you've got so much information here. Don't ignore it. Really, really use it. Okay. So I have a carrot here on the screen. It's a Scarlet Nantes carrot. It's very, very out there. There's tons of Nantes carrots out there. They're a really nice sort of medium length carrot, very good for home gardens. You can harvest it in 55 days. So again, you can start planting carrots, as seed starting right now. If you want to direct sow them into containers or the ground, they're a cool crop as well. You can actually direct sow cold crops in containers right around St. Patrick's Day, believe it or not. So, and you leave them outside. So again, lots of options here, just kind of telling you all that information is on that seed packet. Okay. Let's look at containers really quick. And obviously you have a picture in your mind of what you can use. The top one there, this is a Jiffy peat pellet. I wanted to tell you that peat pellets are a great option for those of you that don't want to deal with the soil aspect, because your soil and your peat are right there in that little pellet. You water that and it expands, and then you can plant your seedling with the pellet and all into the garden when you're ready. So those are a nice little option. Here's the only thing that I'm going to tell you. Peat products are in high demand and very low supply. So if you prefer to use peat containers or peat pellets, get them as soon as you can. Okay. We're having a very hard time with Canadian peat moss, lots of different peats that you find in soils because they were over harvested, really, really in high demand last year and going into this year too. Okay. And then next to the peat pellets, you have your basic plastic tray. That's what we grow at Casa Verde. We grow all of our seedlings in these plastic trays like this, in cell packs, if you will, with a little dome. That's a typical growing, container that you can use, and you can use them from year to year, believe it or not. You just want to make sure that you wash them out, and that's with any of your plastics that you're reusing. You wash with warm soapy water, which is there on the bullet points, and a 1 part bleach, 10 parts water rinse. So after you wash it in the soapy water, go ahead and rinse it in that bleach solution, and then let them dry. And that's what you're seeing at the bottom picture there. I used to grow for SeaWorld when we had SeaWorld in Ohio, and we had this huge vat that was all plastics that we were reusing every year because we wanted to conserve not only money, obviously, but we wanted to conserve resources. And so I'll tell you, we would do a huge bleach bath and just put all the plastics and everything right in there to sanitize them. So not a problem. You see a little milk jug down at the bottom left there, and milk jugs are great. They're great containers, just like that 2-liter pop bottle that I was talking about. The milk jug you cut on 3 sides, and then you have the last side as like a hinge, or the corner as a hinge. And then you go ahead and you plant, and then that dome, again, the top of the milk jug is providing a greenhouse, miniature greenhouse for you. So they're really nice to use. Just make sure with all these materials, drainage is huge. And that's in the first bullet point. You have to have drain holes. You want the water to move away and go through the soil, out past the root system and out. You never want your seedlings to sit in water. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Here's a picture of some of those recyclables. Again, pop bottles, clementine bins, we use those. Your egg cartons, it doesn't matter if it's styrofoam or if it's paper egg cartons, those are great. Toilet paper rolls, I used to have, well, my daughter had 2 gerbils. We actually lost them over this whole COVID time. But man, gerbils love toilet paper rolls. They love to chew on them. So we kept collecting. And the next thing you know, it's like, what else do you do with this cardboard? Well, you can recycle it, and you can obviously use it for seed starting. So those are great little seed starters. You can make newspaper cans. You just take strips of newspaper, roll them on a tomato paste can, close down the bottom, and you have a nice little paper pot that you can just transplant your seedlings into the garden. So all of these things I talk about, and I know Christy will share this link with you if she hasn't done so already, but I do have a video of seed starting in recyclable containers. So it's just a great way to reuse some of these, pots and things, containers and things, okay? And then seed starting, I talked about soil. It always has to be a seed starter mix. It has to be labeled for starting seeds. You see Ospoma organic seed starter. Love the Ospoma products. I think they're fantastic, especially if you want to go natural and organic. They are a great just line of gardening products that you can stick with and never have to worry about that they have other chemicals in them or anything. They're 100% organic from start to finish. You can use Petiti seed starter. We are not organic growers. People ask me that all the time. We're not organic growers because we use synthetic fertilizers. We use things like Osmocote and Miracle Grow, if you will, more of a commercial type of Miracle Grow. And so that's basically why we're not organics. So just so you know, an organic company has to be all organic inputs, including water sources from start to finish, okay? So Petiti's is not an organic grower, just so you know. And then basically, again, I mentioned that seed starting soil has to be sterile, no fertilizers in it. You don't want like a Miracle Grow potting soil has like a little trace amount of fertilizer. Don't use it, okay? Those fertilizers can burn the seedlings. You don't want to do that. And that mix should be very light and airy. You open the bag and it should kind of almost like poof in your face. It's so light. So what I do is I take a spray bottle and I just pre-moisten the bag. Just spray it right into the top of the bag so that peat stays down. And when you have pre-moistened soil, it doesn't take as long of a time for it to hydrate. So when you are watering, the water will stay and run through the soil instead of like bubbling over the top. I'm sure some of you have probably experienced that before when you're planting things. So definitely pre-moisten the soil. Pellets, I mentioned the Jiffy pellets, the peat pellets, you don't need any soil, which is great. And plants always germinate if you can warm the soil up 65 degrees or warmer. I imagine some of you have had relatives or possibly like grandma, you would go over to her house and she would have radiator heat and you would find some seeds starting on the radiator. That was great. A lot of us don't have that anymore. We don't have that option, but man, that was a great way to start seeds. Some people put them on top of the refrigerator. A lot of the refrigerators are high efficiency, so you don't get that heat release at the top, but that's something, it's a warmer place, heat rises, so on top of the refrigerator. So any place where you can get a warmer condition, and what you're seeing in this bottom picture here is a seed starting mat. It's basically a heated mat. It's like a heated blanket or like a, gosh, why can't I think of what it's called? Like a water bottle, not a water bottle. Anybody help me, Christy. But anyway, just use a seed starting mat. Can you think of it, Christy?
A hot water bottle.
Yeah, like a hot water bottle or what was it?
A hot water bottle.
Yeah.
And it gives me a chance I can ask out loud the question I was typing, which you are getting quite a few if you haven't.
I see that. So I'm going to stop here in a moment. Yeah.
Yeah. I wondered if like an electric blanket or heating pad that you have around.
That's what it is. Yeah.
So I'll let you go at that.
Yeah. So heating pad, you have to be careful though, folks. I don't recommend heating pads because if they get wet, obviously you're going to have a problem with electricity. Okay. So your seed starting mat, that's why they make these. They are waterproof and they are ready to go just to help you germinate seeds. Okay. Now, if you don't want to go out and buy a seed starting mat, because they do cost around $20 or so, then just provide a warm spot for the soil to warm up. Okay. So that keep that in mind. I'm just going to talk about light really quick, and then I'll stop and I'll kind of look at some comments here, and hopefully Christy and Tim can help me out. 8 to 10 hours of light for good germination on any type of seed. So if you can get your seedlings in a full sun window, an eastern exposure without any curtains, without any trees, without any bushes in front of it, a western exposure or a southern exposure, you will receive that 8 to 10 hours, okay, of full sun. That's what we need. With northern exposure, if you have a northern exposure window, you're gonna need a light source, okay, a bright direct light source, because northern exposure is all wraparound light, indirect lighting. So we're going to need something that provides like full sun for them. So that's where you have to figure out the grow light aspect to this. When the seedlings pop, when they germinate, you're going to need a good amount of light, 12 to 16 hours. Okay. And when we talk about a light source, you want it to be real close to the seedlings, and you actually adjust it up as they grow. So that's why you see this lighting system here that has the chains on it, because you're going to keep on ratcheting up the light as those seedlings grow up. But when they're small, you're always going to keep them real close, like an inch or two. You're going to keep them right above. And that's for grow lights, of course, because they're not going to be hot. Fluorescent lights will work in this. Fluorescent bulbs, regular fluorescent bulbs, but also obviously your grow bulbs. And you've got a lot of options now with grow bulbs. They can be a long fluorescent tube like, or they can just be a little incandescent light bulb like, and you just throw them in a lamp and there you go. Okay. I like the desk lamps with the kind of hingy or adjustable arms, because you can put them right over the seedlings, and that will really help. And grow light bulbs are kind of like a high efficiency bulb. You're talking about maybe, $2 to $10, just depending on what light scale you're getting, how many lumens you're getting. Okay. So I talked about the southwest window, west, eastern will work fine too. You just need direct sunlight through those windows. Okay. Grow lights or fluorescent lights, and just keep it close to the seedlings. Okay. My goodness. Okay. So if I get in here, Christy, do you have some chat things?
Yeah, there was a question when you were on seed packs about whether or not seeds can die in the pack. And that same person thought maybe their mistake was fertilizing too soon and burning them. But I think it's a good question anyway.
Absolutely.
Like, do they ever expire?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So your seed packs you can keep from year to year. You want to make sure that they stay in paper. Okay. So it could be a paper envelope, mailing envelope. It could be, it could stay in the seed paper package. You want to make sure that they stay cool, dry, and dark. Okay. So they can stay in the garage. They might freeze. Okay. They might get some moisture in there. That is a bad thing. Okay. So I tend to keep mine in a pantry. Okay. Linen closet. I actually have a shoebox and a linen closet, believe it or not. Cool, dry, dark. Okay. They can hold from year to year. However, every year you hold onto them, the germination rate will be lower and lower and lower. Okay. After about 5 years, you'll get, maybe under 50%, and it's not going to be a good experience for you. Okay. So to be successful, you want to make sure that you're using them, within let's say the first 3 years, and they should be fine for you. If you want to do a germination test, if you're like, I don't know when I purchased these seeds, but I still have them, and I want to see how they do, wet paper towel, put 10 seeds in the wet paper towel, close it up, just wrap it with the paper towel. Go ahead and put it in as much sunlight as you can, very sunny window. And it could be on a plate or a tray if you want to. And then go ahead and see how many germinate out of that 10, and you'll know right away what your percentage is going to be. Okay. So 5 out of 10, you'd have a 50% germination rate. Okay. Anything else, Christy?
Somebody was asking when you are on planting materials, if you have a paper one, like a cardboard egg carton or a toilet paper roll, can you go straight in the ground?
Yes, yes. Your paper egg cartons, yes. Your poly or styrofoam egg cartons, no. Okay, so you have to transplant out of the egg carton if it's styrofoam. The peat plugs, the peat pots, the paper newspaper pots, absolutely, yes. You can take them right when they're ready to go and they're matured and they look gorgeous and you've acclimated them and they're ready to go outside. You have your garden ready outside or your container ready outside. Yes, they can be planted just like that in the container. And I feel personally that if you have that paper support or cardboard support around the root system, that they will stay warmer longer in soil outside. Sometimes we have a tendency to jump the gun and we get into the garden way too early. And we're talking probably mid-May. The soil in our area is still really cold. So sometimes you plant, let's say a tomato, you just seed started it, you took it out of its cell pack, you planted the soil and the root right into the ground that you prepared. It sits there and it kind of looks at you and it doesn't do anything for a very long time because it's waiting for our garden soil to warm up. Okay. So when you have that peat or that paper around the root system, it does help reduce that shock, putting it into a cold soil garden. If you plant in containers though, gosh, you can prep your containers early, let them out, let them be in the sun before you're planting the vegetables or your flowers. And the soil in the container warms up much faster than the soil in the garden. So you can actually plant containers a little bit earlier, like 2 weeks earlier than you can plant in your garden. Okay, so keep that in mind.
Along the lines of warmth, I asked, and probably again, I am the most novice gardener you've met. But you were talking on lights, the wrong kind of light can get too hot too close. So if heating pads underneath are good sometimes, I mean, not the electrocute yourself kind, but
seed starting mats,
right. The other can be too hot. Where's that cutoff?
Right. So you only use bottom heat when your seedlings to get them to germinate. So the seed actually pops open and you start to see that seedling. Then you remove the heat. And I should have mentioned that. So the heat comes off on the bottom. Okay. The top, when you're lighting, and a lot of us don't use incandescents anymore. It's like all the high efficiency LED lights and so forth. But you have to watch if you have an old incandescent light bulb, they can get very, very warm. And so if you have a thermometer handy, you want to keep your temperature ranges at like comfortable indoor temperature. So let's say about 60 degrees all the way up to about 80 degrees. If it gets above 80-degree mark, you're going to see some problems. So you're going to see some yellowing, some stretching, some fading in color. You might even see some burnt tips and things like that. So again, trying to keep the heat range right around 60 and 80 is good, 60 to 80 degrees. My grandma has her condo at 80 degrees, kid you not. She loves being hot. So again, the energy bill is quite high for her, but the seedlings can usually handle that. But you got to watch out for that hotter bulb temperature. And grow bulbs, you don't have to worry about it. Fluorescent bulbs, you don't have to worry about it, that actual heat. So just be aware. Okay.
And then somebody just asked on rules for size for containers.
Rules for sizes for containers. You always want to start small. You're talking about maybe an inch in diameter when you're starting seeds. As they get more mature and they develop, 2, 3, 4 sets of leaves, and they're getting harder to water because you can tell their root base has taken up that seed starting soil, and you're watering twice a day, 3 times a day, trying to keep them hydrated, that is when you can move them up into the next size pot. So we tend to go 1 to 2 inches bigger. So if you started at an inch wide, you're going to move up to, let's say, 2 or 3 inch size pot. Some people will move them up to a 4-inch pot because that's pretty standard, a standard grower's pot. But that's your sign when, you know, things are getting matured. They're really, really, you know, very hard to maintain watering wise. That's when you start moving up. But start small at first. Like I said, like a little yogurt cup, like a Yoplait yogurt cup. It would be, you know, like that inch diameter across the top. Activia is another one. We use Activia, but they're the little like kind of square cups that are about an inch in diameter. So that would be something. Toilet paper tube, egg, you know, individual egg spot in an egg carton. So just keep that in mind. Okay, I'm going to keep going because we are going to run out of time here. So I'll get some more questions as we keep going. Watering, folks, watering your seedlings and watering your house plants, I always recommend using room temperature water. So if you can fill up that watering can, that's, you know, sprayer, go ahead and fill it up the night before you're going to water. You always water in the morning. Okay. It doesn't matter what kind of plant, indoor, outdoor, seedling, you're always watering in the morning because that is when the plants can actually use it and they're actively growing. If you water in the evenings, it will sit. The plant material, of course, sitting in wet conditions can cause a lot of issues, including mold, mildew, disease. Okay. So just keep that in mind. You can bottom water your seedlings once you know that they are the root system, and you can do this. You can pull them out of their pot, their little cell, pull them out and look and see where the root is going. Lots of times they'll go right straight down to where they can find more water. And so you can literally water into the bottom of your flat or tray or what have you that you have your pots on, your individual pots on, and they'll absorb the water right from the bottom. Bottom watering is very, very healthy. You don't get any water on the leaves or the foliage, and that's a really good thing. I will tell you, when you're watering seedlings, try this little girl in the picture. She's probably trying to hit the plant really, really hard. It's really about the soil. Try to get the soil moistened, not necessarily the seedling plant. Okay. If you get water on the seedlings, it's just a mist, fine mist. It's going to obviously evaporate. But again, try to hit the soil, not the plant. Okay. Domes. So when you plant your seeds and they haven't germinated yet, you can cover your seeds with just plastic wrap if you want to. But as soon as they germinate, as soon as they start to pop up, you remove that plastic wrap. The dome gives you a little bit more time where you have a couple inches of space where the seeds can pop up. You don't want to uncover them just yet. You want to keep them in their nice warm greenhouse. That's okay, but don't let them start touching the top of the dome because any kind of plastic contact can actually reduce their growing. Okay. So again, domes, plastic wrap, all those types of things to keep the humidity around the seeds is good until they germinate. And then you want to remove those domes. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Too wet. I was talking about when you overwater, when you're killing with kindness, you don't mean to, but when you get your seedlings too wet, you will start to see what we call botrytis or damping off disease. And right at the base of the seedling stem, you'll see like this gray to white fuzzy structure that starts to build. It'll start to spread out on the soil. You might start to see it in the leaves. That is damping off, and it's going to kill the plant, the seedling, right at the base of the stem. Okay. And it's a really good indication that there's too much water. You haven't let them dry out. And also, increased air circulation helps reduce that type of problem as well. So we talk about setting up fans, just plain old house fans that will rotate the air around the seedlings to try to reduce any type of disease issue. And it will also help the plants transpire and evaporate that water. Okay, so keep that in mind. When you're starting seeds, it's easy to tell because the soil or the peat that you grow them in is going to be dark, rich brown if it's moist. It'll start to lighten in color. It will become like a tan color if it's dry. So do watch the soil altogether and the color shift, and then you'll know you need to reapply water. Okay, so keep that in mind. Fertilizer, again, this comes later, much, much, much later. So, you know, plants that germinate within a month to a month and a half are probably going to be ready to be fed. They usually need 2 true sets of leaves. So let's go back to biology class in, middle school. The seed sprouts, and the first set of leaves you see is actually cotyledon leaves. It's the leftover cotyledons from the seed, okay? And it's the food that they've used in the seed. So you let those fall off, okay? You do not fertilize with the cotyledon seeds on there or leaves on there. And then you watch, and your plant will develop 1 set and then 2 sets, and then you can start fertilizing. Okay, so do watch out for that. We'll always use water-soluble fertilizer on your seedlings. So you can use an all-purpose Miracle-Gro